Oh, can I see the screen? Yes.
It's rude.
All right, it is now 4 p.m. I want to welcome you to Project Ready, Thursday Career Connections. There is so much going on in our country and globally right now. The nation welcomed President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris to lead us at a time of deep anguish and great promise. Unfortunately, we have COVID-19 going on right now in our country and globally. And we want you to know that here at the Urban League, we are here for you. And we will continue to provide resources and information on resources in the community. And without further ado, I do want to welcome you here this evening. I know you have a busy day. So thank you for taking time for being with us. I'm going to ask that everybody mute their phones when they're coming on so that it doesn't interrupt our presentation. I want to introduce to you Trinity Ansley. She is our Project Ready Youth Council Chair, and she also represents us nationally on the Youth Council. And she will provide a welcome to you this evening. And before she does that, it is my understanding that someone told me she has a birthday and that she is turning 16. So join me in welcoming her and to celebrate her birthday. And Trinity, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. It is my birthday today. Thank you for all the birthday wishes. And now I'm going to be introducing our speaker for today. But before I do that, I do want to say my name is Trinity Ansley. I am the chair of Project Ready San Diego Youth Council. And I have some positions that are open. If you guys would like to run for any of the following, which is vice chair, secretary, information and communications chair, and program and service learning chair. Without further ado, please help me welcome our speaker.
Okay, and before you do that, Trinity, I have one more thing that I want to add. I want to introduce to you to Fred Moore. He is one of our program coordinators, and he is a motivational speaker. He works with us on a lot of different projects here at the Urban League, but he is well known for working with us with Project Ready. And one of the things that he is really famous for is our Project Ready Litany. And he is going to run through our litany before we get started and before we introduce our speaker. So without further ado, Fred, can you lead us in introducing the Project Ready Litany? Let's see. Unmute. There you are. Ask to unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Good evening, everyone. Pleased to meet you. I hope everyone enjoyed the conference. Did everybody get a chance to look at the conference? Did anybody get an opportunity to see the Youth Leadership Conference? If not, it's still online, so you can go back and see it. Our litany is something that we do on a regular basis. I'll go through it very quickly. I am excellent. I am excellent. I am excellent. My mind is a pearl. I can do anything. Anything that my mind can achieve, I can achieve. Anything my mind can conceive and my heart can believe, I can achieve. I am excellent. I am an urban leader on the move who will empower communities and change lives. So on 3, let's do the litany, okay? 1, 2, 3. I am excellent.
Excellent.
I am
I
excellent.
am excellent.
I am
I
excellent.
am excellent.
My mind is a
My
pearl.
mind is a pearl.
My
I can
mind is
do
a
anything.
pearl.
Do anything.
Anything that my mind
Anything
can
my
achieve.
mind can achieve.
Anything that my mind can achieve, I can achieve.
Anything that my mind can
Anything my
conceive.
mind can receive and my heart can believe, I can achieve.
I am excellent.
I'm Maxwell.
I am an
This is that
urban
program I
leader
wanted to sign you up for
on
on
the
Thursdays,
move
but you started playing football.
who will empower communities and change lives. Thank you. It's back to you, Key.
Thank you. All right, Trinity, you may now introduce the
Get to your
speakers.
email, get to it.
Okay, Trinity.
Here's card, look. They're just
Oh,
introducing. I gotta mute myself.
Okay, thank you. So please help me welcome today our key speaker who will be, oh, my mistake, who will be Angelo, also known as Tony. Oh, I'm so sorry for the mispronunciation of his last name. Riddick, I believe.
That's it, Riddick, yes.
Ah, thank you. Appreciate it. In 2020, Angelo, also Tony Riddick, began serving as the Chief Information Officer, so the CIO, for the New York State Office of Information Technology Services, the state's governmental IT service and delivery operation, where he oversees more than 3,400 employees who perform a variety of services for the New York State IT enterprise, ranging from application development to cybersecurity and data center operations. As a highly decorated retired U.S. Army colonel, correct?
Colonel.
Colonel, having served 30 plus years active duty, including supporting operations Desert Storms, Desert Shield, and participating in Operations Enduring Freedom and New Dawn, Tony held several key military combat, logistics, and IT positions. In 2014, Colonel Riddick retired from the military. His final assignment was as a chief of concepts decorative for the Army's newly formed cyber combat or command, apologies. He began working for a private defense contractor providing business development services in cybersecurity and IT. In 2016, he served as the governor's director for the Bureau of Information Technology, so the BIT, and chief information officer for the U.S. Virgin Islands, where he received the State Scoop State Executive of the Year Award in 2018 for his efforts in disaster recovery and communications, IT infrastructure restoration following the devastation of Hurricanes Maria and Irma in 2017. Tony was commissioned at Marion Military Institute and attended Albany State University in Georgia. He earned his postgraduate degree in the National Graduate School and Executive Education at the National Defense University, where he became a faculty member and upon graduation taught master's degree level courses in information technology leadership, cybersecurity, and CIO operations over the next 6 years. Tony holds a master's degree in quality systems management for the National Graduate School and several IT certifications from the National Defense University. He is also a certified project management professional, and Tony is a graduate of all Rescue U.S. Army's military schooling, including the Command and General Staff College, and was selected to participate in the Army's War College in 2005. He was chaired numerous information technology committees, including the 5-state region for the Omega PSI.
Omega
The
Sci-Fi
Psi-
Fraternity.
Oh, the Sci-Fi Fraternity, apologies, oh my goodness, where he led the effort to update and modernize information technology services for the 10,000 plus memberships, regions, and served briefly as the fraternity's IT committee chair, overseeing IT services for the 200 plus membership base. Tony is married to the former Brenda J. Walker and has 2 sons, Gary and Larico. Please help me welcome Mr. Riddick.
Well, thank you so much, Trinity. I think you did a fantastic job. My current position is Chief Information Officer for the state of New York. Essentially, I'm responsible for providing information technology services to 19 million citizens in the state of New York with a staff of 3,400 IT professionals. We do everything from service desktop computers, add applications. We also run a cloud storage operation called the Excelsior Cloud, where we've combined data centers for the state, and we have thousands of petabytes of information that we store. Essentially, I'm the top IT guru for New York State. Let me start by sharing a story with you, and I want to share some tidbits of information that I learned along the way. That story starts like this. I'm from Norfolk, Virginia, and as a kid, I would like to tell you that life was hard. I would like to do what rappers do and tell you how I'm doing so well after living so hard, but that's not important. It's not where you come from. It's where you're going and where you're at the present time. As a kid, I knew three individuals, three very good people, two of whom were twins. One was an individual who was one of the smartest persons I ever knew personally. His name was Vernon. I'm not going to share with you his last name, but Vernon was a little awkward in that he wore very thick glasses, he had a stuttering problem, and he had no confidence in himself. He had one of the strongest grade point average I ever knew as an individual, and he was destined to do great things. He came from a very, very secure and stable home. Of course, we all lived in the ghetto, and again, I won't talk about how I rose from the bottom to the top, but Vernon was elite in that he was a studious individual and he took seriously the schoolwork that he was charged with doing. Again, he had a very stable household and he lived in a house, unusual for a ghetto kid. He lived in a house. I know nowadays it's popular to call the ghetto the hood, but quite frankly, terming the ghetto the hood makes it sound sexy. It makes it sound exciting. But the reality is the ghetto is no place where anyone wants to be. Everyone aspires to get out, but most get locked in and don't get an opportunity. Because Vernon had physical difficulties, he wasn't an athlete, and he was what we call the bookworm. He studied real hard, but he tried so hard to blend in. He couldn't blend in. Again, he wasn't athletic, he wasn't confident in himself, and he wasn't popular with the girls. Now, the twins, on the other hand, they were athletic, they were popular, but they came from a household that consists of a grandmother who raised them. Their grandmother gave them guidance and provided the nurturing that they needed to succeed, but of course they lived in the ghetto. Their mother had them at age 13 and their father was 15 years old. They were forced to be married, the parents were, because back in those days, in the early 60s, shotgun weddings were the shoot de jour, meaning that if a grandparent cared about a child and the child became pregnant, then that grandparent would force that other child's parent to make them marry. They were married for 2 years. The father left at age 17, never to be seen again. As a matter of fact, the twins only saw him 4 times in their life. And the last time they went to his funeral in Queens, New York. Vernon, because he wasn't sure of himself, felt that he had something to prove. So he joined the United States Marine Corps. Now I'm from Norfolk, Virginia, and the military is very popular in Norfolk, Virginia. As a matter of fact, it has the most military service members than any other city in the United States, including San Diego. Norfolk is about a third larger in military population than San Diego. So everyone aspires to get out of the ghetto. And at that time, you could drop out of high school and join the military. Vernon, because he was so smart, didn't have a problem with graduating from high school. But what he had a problem with was going to college. He felt that he had to prove something. So he joined the Marines. And he stayed in the Marines for 10 years. He ended up not being confident in his leadership abilities, still being ridiculed by his peers as a sergeant in the Marine Corps, and decided to exit the Marine Corps in 10 years. So essentially, he left the Marine Corps in 1989. We all graduated from high school in 1979. He ended up moving back to the same ghetto neighborhood and eventually owned a house, 2 blocks, an apartment. I stand corrected. He lived in an apartment that was no bigger than my college apartment as an adult. It was irony at its finest. The twins, however, took advantage of opportunities. They did not get stifled by the ghetto. They had aspirations to do big things. They went on to attend a military college in Southwest Alabama, a place that they never even heard of, Marion, Alabama. One of the twins became a pilot, and the other one finally became a colonel in the United States Army. I share with you this story because I want to share with you some essential components that you can use as young adults to succeed. We're not all destined to do great things. A lot of times, because we're not destined to do great things, we don't have confidence in ourselves, and we choose the easy road. Many of you have probably read the story or the poem, The Road Less Taken. Well, the twins took the road less taken. They were great athletes. They received football scholarships, and then they proved themselves academically because in high school, because of their environment, they never had an opportunity to thrive academically. Both parents dropped out. Neither parent ever received a high school diploma. Both parents were alcoholics, and both parents were eventually drug addicts. But they used that as a condition of success. Knowing that failure wasn't an option and going back to Norfolk, Virginia wasn't an option. You can pick up where one twin left off in the story or the biography that Trinity just read. That twin is me, Colonel Angelo Riddick. 30 years military service, master's degree, and I'm also considered a doctor, but I never finished my dissertation. Went through all levels of schooling, bachelor's degree, associate's degree, master's degree, and eventually a doctorate of business administration without completing a dissertation. Received opportunities to go to the military's highest educational institutions and leveraged every opportunity to succeed. Made decisions along the way that were crucial. Now, what you didn't read is that Angelo Tony Riddick is an airborne ranger. He's jumped out of a mini airplane. He served in combat as a base commander in northern Iraq. He commanded 5,600 troops at the highest point in his military career and went on to Army Cyber Command to set Army policy for cybersecurity. Cyber is always evolving, so that policy has changed. But that individual is noted for being an architect of the initial cybersecurity policies that even the world follows to this day. Now, I'm that individual. And what I want to share with you is a story that somebody told me a long time ago. You know, people are going to tell you as kids how easy it is to succeed if you do the right things. But you know, right now, doing the right things are the hardest things to do. You're going to be challenged with a lot of opportunities. You're going to be challenged with a lot of negative energy. Some of you will succeed and some of you will fail. But again, it's not where you start, it's how you finish and how you play the game. Now, that individual told me how easy it was to succeed. And I've been to barbershops all around the world where a barber is always telling you how successful they are. But you look around and you say, well, you're just cutting hair. And you're still trying to do a side hustle to make more money. You let people come in and sell goods and services in your barbershop, and you're always giving people the advice that you never took yourself. And I says, oh no, I run into another guy that's going to tell me how easy it is to succeed. But he shared with me 4 essential things that have stuck with me since I met him in 1996. He was an Air Force lieutenant colonel at the time. He sat me down, he says, and he was a fraternity brother. He sat me down, he says, you know, there are only 4 things in life that count, and I want you to write these down. He says, number 1 is the hand you play or the hand you're dealt. Because everybody gets a hand at birth. We get a set of cards. And then the second thing is we get a chance to play those cards. We get a chance to make decisions. And here's the trick to it. Everybody doesn't get good cards to play. All of us aren't born with silver spoons in our mouth. Some of us are the Vernons of the world, and some of us are the twins of the world. The twins, you see, didn't get that opportunity to have a stable family and a stable household, and they weren't good students. They were good athletes, but athleticism will only take you so far. So let's go back. They had a hand to play. The second thing in life, he said, that counts is the way you play that hand. Some get a silver spoon and fail. Let's give you an example in modern times. Britney Spears is a very popular person, but popularity overwhelmed her, and she was put in a conservatorship. Her father controls all of her money, and she was working to get out of that. Very talented individual, very beautiful, very popular among her peer group. Hopefully, many of you know her. But because she had a good hand, it doesn't mean she played it well. She lost control. So the second thing essentially is the way you play that hand. And not all of you are going to get a good hand, but that doesn't mean you're going to fail. You're going to have to leverage that hand and do the best that you can do and seek opportunities. The third thing he told me was very important as well. He says, no matter how well you play your hand, how good you are, how popular you are, how pretty you are, how handsome you are, all the opportunities you may have, there's always the will of man in that formula that may impact how successful you become. You see, you may not have a good hand, but you might have played it well. And somebody might come along and say, you know what? I don't like you. I don't like how lucky you've been. You shouldn't be where you are. Therefore, I'm not going to give you an opportunity to thrive. And that eventually makes that individual quit. Now, on the other hand, there's also that scenario that says that you may not have a good hand, but there may be a good person around you who decides that they like you, who decides that you have potential, who decides that you can rule the world at one time and they have the resources to help you. Again, let's go back. It's the hand you play, the hand you're dealt, and the will of man. The will of man is very, very powerful. I can tell you I've had some opportunities and I remember the names of the individuals who helped me along the way. I also remember very vividly those who tried to stifle my success because they were out there. Some didn't like the color of my skin. Some didn't like my gender. Some didn't like the fact that I was born in the ghetto and raised in the ghetto and did some great things. But they didn't stop me. But the will of man can work in two different ways. It can work such that they help you succeed or they can help you fail. Now, that fourth thing is always touchy because this is a politically correct world where essentially you have to do and say the right things in the right places, or what you do and say may stop you from getting where you are. The will of man may absolutely stop you or eject you to higher heights. But the fourth thing is your belief in a higher power. Now, again, I have to stay politically correct. I'm not going to tell you to believe in God. Believe in something that's bigger than you. Understand that there's a power out there that motivates you. When you make decisions, sometimes those decisions are influenced by your faith in something larger than you. Your faith in believing that you can be the person that you want to be. Your faith in being consistent. Your faith in being kind to all people. Your faith in having morality. Your faith in being ethical. Doing the right things the right way. Not cheating, lying, or stealing. And then your faith in remaining a good person. Doing things legally, not taking shortcuts, not taking advice from bad people. So again,
Continue
let's go
straight
back.
for 11 minutes to exit 14A, State Route 125.
There are four things in life that will help you. Number one, it's the hand you're dealt. Number two, it's the way you play that hand. Number three, watch out for it. That's the will of man, the will of woman. But the fourth thing is the most powerful, it's your faith. You see, I wasn't born with a silver spoon. I wasn't given those opportunities. Heck, I almost failed high school. As a matter of fact, let me show you how close I was to failing. In Granby High School in Norfolk, Virginia, we were on a quarter system. The quarter system allowed you to take as many as 7 courses a quarter for a total of 28. Well, I was that student who was the cool guy. In the 11th grade, I skipped nearly every class. The classes that excited me, like trigonometry, geometry, English, other math courses I excelled in, but physical education, social studies, and all of those things that didn't seem important to me, I decided to just skip out. And in my senior year in high school, I sat down with my graduation counselor who talked about graduation in the fall. He said to me that you can take 28 classes this year, but Mr. Riddick, you have to pass 27 with at least a 3.5 grade point average or higher. And we had a system called quality points, which tracked the number of times you were in trouble in school, the number of times you skipped in school, the number of times that you were accountable for your behavior. And he said, your quality points are so low, your grade point average is so low that cumulatively, you're not gonna be able to graduate in the spring. That's the will of man. But the cards that I wanted to play did not have me doing the 12th grade over again. So in the fourth quarter, or in the first quarter of my senior year, I received 5 A's, 1 B, and an F. I received an F from a teacher who did not believe in me, although I turned in all of the work, did all of the assignments, and volunteered to be the best student I could be. But she knew my reputation, and she already canceled me out. She failed me. So that means for the next 21 classes, I had to pass again with a cumulative grade point average of better than 3.5 to just make my grade point average enough to graduate from high school. In the second quarter, I received all A's and a B. The third quarter, again, graduation counseling time, I received 3 B's and 4 A's. And I went to see my guidance counselor. He said, Mr. Riddick, how are you making these grades? Are you cheating? How could you do so well when in the last 11 years you just haven't done anything? And I remember looking up at that individual and saying, you never told me I wasn't going to graduate. You let me float through and you took care of all of the good kids. But those of us from the ghetto, you never spent 10 minutes with counseling because your expectation was for us to drop out, join the military, and just become the average Joe walking the streets and trying to find life, trying to figure it out. I says, I'm going to graduate. And in the fourth quarter, I'm going to do better. In the fourth quarter, practically received all A's. Graduated on time and got an opportunity to attend a very elite private military college in Marion, Alabama in 1979. Now, for those of you who know history, Alabama wasn't a kind place in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. So it was almost like going back in time. There were 5 Black graduates out of 600 students. As a matter of fact, there were only 14 Black students in the whole student population because it was small and it was private. But I graduated. I became a great football player with the private junior college football team and had scholarship offers at William and Mary, Virginia Commonwealth University, Georgia Tech, and Clemson. I decided that I thought I was too skinny and I knew I wasn't going to play on Sunday, and I wanted an opportunity to go to a historically Black college or university. So rather than return home to the ghetto and finish the last 2 years of college, I decided to attend Albany State University in small Albany, Georgia, a small historically Black college of about 5,000 students, where I pledged a fraternity, became a campus leader, and furthered my military career by serving in the National Guard before I came on active duty. I was promoted to first lieutenant in 1983, promoted to captain in 1986, promoted to major in 1994, promoted to lieutenant colonel in 1999, and promoted to full bird colonel in 2004. I had an opportunity to command or be a primary staff officer at every level. Now, what does that mean? That means that I was in charge of soldiers. And again, the highest level of soldier that I commanded in combat was 5,600. I had an opportunity of closing Kirkuk, Iraq. You saw the closing of Afghanistan and how chaotic it was. I did the same thing, of course, under different constraints and under different rules, but I was the last man in 2012 to leave Kirkuk, Iraq. I was in charge of everything from the distribution of blood plasma to the distribution of electricity to security of 300 guards. We were attacked 383 times. No soldiers were ever killed under my command. Some got hurt. A number of buildings were blown up, and I was almost blown up several times, but I survived. But what I had was that fourth thing, and that was faith in a higher power. I always believed that if given an opportunity, I would survive. I went on then to work for a defense contractor. I made more money in 1 year than I guarantee you every Riddick has made combined since slavery. After deciding to retire in 2015, I built a house in Florida. When I received a phone call from the governor of the United States Virgin Islands, never in my life did I think I'd have an opportunity to serve as a commissioner of an agency for a state. But I went over to the Virgin Islands and I became the chief information officer in charge of all the IT. Very small operation compared to New York, but the duties and responsibilities were even more challenging because in 2016, for the first time in recorded history, all 3 islands of the Virgin Islands were impacted by a Category 5 hurricane, and I was there. I wrote it out. I'll tell you that the most frightening night of my life was when Hurricane Maria rolled through St. Croix in the Virgin Islands. Every roof nearly on the island was taken off. Every window in my condo was blown out except mine. I lived on the 2nd floor and there were 2 feet of water on the 2nd floor. I never prayed so much in my life because of that fourth thing, my belief in a higher power. And the next morning, I got up and it was my job to make us communicate because we were cut off from the world. My job was to make sure that my communications team set up microwaves, set up satellites, coordinated with the federal government, worked with pilots to establish the communications lines. We were talking within 24 hours. I was recognized as State Executive of the Year in 2017 because of those efforts. In 2019, I left the Virgin Islands and decided to retire again. So I went to my house in Florida. It was brand new, never lived in the thing. And I was nice and relaxed because I felt like I was an old man. I had done everything I needed to do and I was satisfied. But my God wasn't finished with me yet. I got a call from Governor Cuomo's office, the guy who was just relieved as the governor of New York, to be the chief information officer of the state of New York. 3,400 people, $863,000 budget, and responsibilities that are unbelievable. My job is to keep the lights on. My job is to make sure that the internet works. My job is to make sure that applications that we use, that the citizens use, are developed and that they provide the services that 19 million people look to use. Now, again, there are 4 things that count. I didn't have a hell of a hand. I didn't even play that hand well until somebody told me I was going to fail. And then I had opportunities. And I'll be quite frank with you. Some people tried to stop my progress. The reason I didn't make general officer was because it was personal. And I decided that I had done everything that I could have possibly dreamed to retire from the military. But all along, I worked with the 4th thing, and that was faith in a higher power. And to this day, that faith has taken me around the world. I've moved 27 times. I lived in 4 countries. I've lived in 12 states, and I still want to travel. I've had a great time. It's been a great opportunity, and it's not about me at this point. When Kia contacted me and said, would you participate in the Urban League? I realized that I now have another duty. And it's not just to tell you how to succeed, but to show you that success is something that you can achieve. The mantra of I am excellent is only good if you think that about yourself. The mantra of I am excellent will not be of any utility to you if you don't believe in self. If you don't think you're the most important person in the world, you're the prettiest girl, you're the most handsome man, you're the most gifted athlete, that you are academically sound, that you can achieve, you won't do it. So I like this mantra of I am excellent because all of God's children are excellent. It's just up to you to decide how excellent you want to be. Now, before I answer the questions that I've been asked to answer, I'm going to share with you a poem. and it's called Sermons We See. It's also termed Live Your Creed. And it goes a little like this. I'd rather see a sermon than to hear one any day. I'd rather one should walk with me than merely tell the way. The eye is a better pupil and more willing than the ear. Fine counsel is confusing, but example's always clear. And the best of all the preachers are the men who live their creed. For to see good put in action is what everybody needs. I soon can learn to do it if you'll let me see it done. I can watch your hands in motion, but your tongue too fast may run. And the lectures you deliver may be very wise and true, but I'd rather get my lessons by observing what you do. For I might misunderstand you and the high advice you give, but there's no misunderstanding of how you act and how you live. Now, there are two other stanzas that are associated with the poem that I didn't learn until later in life. But I realized that I had to be an example for all to follow, not just talk the talk, but walk the walk. I think I've done pretty good, but I still have more of a journey to walk. That's why when Kia called me and asked me to participate tonight, I thought it was important for me to show you where you can go, because the eye is a better pupil and more willing than the ear. You may not want to listen, but you can see. And what I submit to you is, in your journey in life, always look to the person that's doing something, not the person that's saying something, the person who's already cut down the path for you. Your job is to improve that path, go better, be stronger, and do it faster, because you only have a short time to live. And with that, I want to go ahead and answer those questions. And I want to thank this audience for taking time to listen. I hope you listened to exactly what I said, because it hasn't been an easy journey, and I too am not finished. But my job is to make sure that I inspire others to do more than I can possibly do. I love for Kia to call me up 10 years from now and say, one of the students that were on that night did something great. You need to turn on the television. I don't want to see a rapper. I don't want to see an athlete, because that's just too easy. And they don't last that long. They talk a good game, but they don't walk like they talk, because their careers are short. I want to see you do something successful and change the world. And with that, thank you very much.
Thank you. Trinity, can you introduce Carter?
All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Riddick. I really appreciate, and we all really appreciate your amazing speech. Please come with me to welcome Carter for us.
Thanks.
Hi, my name is Carter Henderson, and I'm just going to ask you 5 questions. So you talked about earlier what a chief information officer does, but can you go a little bit more in depth about it and talk more specifically about what you do?
So as a chief information officer, I'm responsible for the information technology infrastructure, the information technology processes, cybersecurity, help desk operations, and the infrastructure itself. We have 1,600 miles of fiber that my team maintains. We have over 400 applications. Some of the applications that my team is responsible for developing or supporting through vendors, our lottery, our welfare management system, our unemployment insurance system, our Department of Motor Vehicles information technology system, our labor information technology system, our voice over IP phone system. We have over 50,000 phones that my team maintains, along with tens of thousands of computers that we maintain, we upgrade, we update, we replace, we service. We also have a help desk that answers the questions of over 130,000 New York State employees. Our budget, again, is $863,000. $863 million. just short of $1 billion. We pay our employees. We use that money to support the infrastructure itself. And we do a litany of things. I have hire and fire rights for all 3,400 employees, and I'm the senior man. I'm considered a cabinet member and now Governor Hochul's cabinet. We have 52 cabinet agencies plus. I am the only person that looks like me in the cabinet right now. Okay.
No, it seems like you do a lot. So what like on average does your day usually look like? What do you usually do at work per day?
Well, here's what I did. Okay. I'm an old man now. And to get where I am, I would get up in the morning in the Army and do PT at 5 o'clock. And as a commander, I probably wouldn't go to bed until 1 o'clock in the morning. As a combat commander, it never really gave me sleep, because either you have to give an award, go to the hospital, look at an injured soldier, or walk around and just be in command. I decided when I got to New York that I've done all of the things that I need to do to get here. And I promised my team that I would come to work at 8 o'clock and I would leave at 5 every day. Now, that's a lofty goal. My hours aren't necessarily like that, but I can tell you the majority of the time, I work no more than 9 hours a day.
That's 9 hours. Yeah. During COVID.
Okay, I lost connectivity.
How was your position during COVID? But what?
So my team was responsible for developing the software that we use in New York State to verify testing, to set up vaccination appointments, and to do a number of things, including verify whether or not an individual can go to work on a certain day or must they be quarantined. We maintain the database for that. My team created the database for that. And that's a constant right now. So we maintain a database that accounts for all of the citizens of New York and the employees of New York with regards to testing, vaccinations, and workplace security. So COVID's kept us real busy, bottom line up front.
During your career, especially in the armed forces, what you have any like funny stories or anything that you
I do. And I thought about this because I had an opportunity. Full disclosure, Carter, you know, I've gotten a chance to look at these questions, and I thought about how many things were funny in the military. And I tried to make sure that I tell a story that you can relate to as young people. So think about this. When I arrived in Kirkuk, Iraq, I arrived on a very small plane that I didn't even know we had in the Army with my leadership team. And that night, when we arrived, they were shooting at the freaking airplane. I thought the war was over when it was 2011. We were getting these tracer rounds coming up, trying to knock the airplane down. They did what's called a combat roll. We landed in the airfield and the plane never stopped rolling. The back door opened, they shoved all our stuff out, we jumped out, and I jumped in some armored vehicles with my team, and I went to a location to be briefed on what we would do if we were attacked that night. Now, here's the scary part about it. I never heard so much noise in my life. Machine guns were going off, things were being shot down out of the air, people were screaming. And quite frankly, I hadn't been in that environment. I was 50 years old when I went there. And I didn't know what to expect, but I was going to be in charge. So I had to look the part. You know, when you're the leader, you can't look like you're scared. So all of these things are going off, and I don't know whether or not to go blind or die. But my officer briefed me on an escape plan if in case we were attacked and we needed to break out. So we all knew where our bunker was if we were attacked that night. And I went into my hooch where I was going to sleep. Now I'm the commander. And I heard the absolute loudest sound I ever heard in my life. I was scared to death because the round hit about 400 yards from where I was sleeping. It hit so hard that the trailer that I was in, and we called it a hooch, but it was actually a double wide trailer. It came off the ground and it slammed, bam. And of course, I wasn't really asleep anyway. The funniest thing I thought after that happened was, I don't know what to grab first. Do I grab my weapon? Do I put on my pants? Do I have time to grab my boot? Do I put on my helmet? Or do I put on my flak vest? So you know what I ended up doing? Grabbing my helmet, my weapon, putting on my boots, and running outside naked to the bunker. And when I got in the bunker, I realized how silly I looked. But I was the commander. But I had to put on that game face. And we sat in that bunker for 4 hours. And unfortunately, 4 kids, 3 were injured and 1 was killed. And I remember how stupid I looked that night because I didn't know which one to grab. Was it a weapon so I could fire back? Was it a helmet so I wouldn't get hit in the head? Was it a flak vest so I wouldn't get hit in the chest? Or do I just not want to be embarrassed to run out naked? I ran out in my underwear and a helmet with my flak jacket in my arm and my 9mm in my hand. And I cannot imagine how crazy I looked when I got in the bunker, but nobody laughed. Later on that day, after we settled down and did our memorial service for the kid, we went to dinner that night and we laughed about that, how crazy that night was. 24 hours of absolute chaos. And believe it or not, it was funny. And then I had 380 more days to live there.
My last question for you is, what other tips do you have to offer us?
So, that's a hard question because there's no easy answer. I thought I gave to you 4 things that you need to consider. But I will tell you, let no man, no woman tell you what you can't do. And know this, you'll change your job at least 10 times in your lifetime. Study as hard as you can, get as educated as you can, and expect change every day. I know all the people that I was in the business college with at Albany State, just say if there were 1,000, only 5 or 10 ever worked in business. Some worked as counselors, some worked as teachers, some worked as administrators, some worked public service. A lot like me went on to be military officers or enlisted people. Expect change, be confident in yourself, and let no one tell you what you can't do. If you don't dream at night, you got a problem. If you don't daydream in the day, you got a problem. Rethink your plan because you should always be dreaming about something bigger, and better. And don't go for the dollar, go for happiness.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Everyone, please thank this individual for taking time out of his busy day to come and talk to you. Because, it's my hope to introduce you to some non-traditional career paths. And it is my hope that you can think about careers other than just football or rap, as was stated before. And these are some careers that are considered, STEM careers are considered high growth fields in this area of San Diego, not just in the military, but in high tech, in biotech, and pharmaceutical companies. So I hope that you will consider some of the things that were shared with you this afternoon from Tony. He's my fraternity brother. And so I thank him. And I was on a social media thread, and he was talking about mentoring. And I said, when are you going to come and talk to my youth? And so I want to thank him so much for talking to the youth here on the West Coast. Thank you so much.
From Albany, New York, you're very welcome. I'm very honored, and feel free to reach out at any time. I have a million stories, but they're no good if they don't set the example for everyone.
Thank you. Do we have any additional questions or comments from anybody? Okay. With that said, I always promise to keep it under 45 minutes. And I think we are at 4:49. So I want to thank you and good evening.
Have a good evening.
Thank you, Tony.
Very welcome.
Bye, everybody.
You guys do great things. Let me read about you one day.
I will. I'll send information and keep you posted. We'll continue to invite you to some things.
Outstanding. I'll be honored. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Bye-bye. Okay.
Thank you and good evening.
Thank you, Trinity, and happy birthday.
Thank you, Ms. Key. Appreciate it.
And thank you, Carter. Oh, did he get off already? Okay.